This is Dr. Daniel Pazarski with Dr. Dan's Health and Business Power Hour. We are in Season 2, Episode number 3. We are here with Alexander Velitchko. Alexander Velitchko. Today, Alexander is an award-winning speaker and best-selling author of not only one, but 2 books. He's best known as a marketing and PR consultant to change marketing or to change making entrepreneurs. He helps them dominate their industries using the ABCs of marketing formula that he has come up with himself. He shared his message on the same stage as Martha Stewart and Ice-T and Coco at Carnegie Hall, on the same stage as Suzanne Summers at the Harvard Club of Boston, at NASDAQ, Coca-Cola, Mercedes-Benz, and even West Point Military Academy. Alexander is a lifelong purveyor of healthy lifestyle. When he was 6, after eating a whole box of Wheaties, he had a severe allergic reaction. And one thing led to another, and his parents put him, one thing led to another, and that led him on his path to health. And here he is today with us, folks. Alexander Velitchko, welcome to the show.
Hey! I would like to start off talking about another time where I just recently appeared at a fabulous venue, CNN Center, right behind me. Daniel, you were there too with me, right?
I was there too with you, and you're still there today. That's wonderful.
Virtually.
I didn't know you ever left.
We must have the same publicists, don't we?
We totally do. Totally do.
Well, I'm going to briefly talk about some of the people that I met there. One of my favorites, Dr. Oz. One of the things that when I was actually on a one-on-one Zoom with him, and the thing that really stood out to me was that he said, all of the people that I invite on my show, they have one thing in common. They take a problem that people have and they give them a solution that they love. My angle on that is that every single health expert who has appeared on Dr. Oz's show, they bring an energy to their solutions that is filled with excitement and energy. And Dr. Oz is really all about delivering that excitement and energy. To me, if business doesn't have fun, what fun is it? I also got to hear from Dr. Jocelyn Elders, who was the 15th Surgeon General of the United States. Fabulous woman. I think she's in her mid-80s. Keep in mind, we were all doing this during a pandemic. She came out COVID-free. And you know what she said? Only 10% of the nation's health comes from doctors. The pandemic has exposed the underbelly of America's healthcare system.
That's exactly what she said. What she said. I was there with you.
And she said it with such vigor and passion. And that really reminds me. That really reminds me of the statistic that the CDC recently shared. It caused a lot of outrage that 6% of reported coronavirus deaths were not reported to have any other underlying conditions. Take it as you will, listeners. Some people may think of it that the data is a scam. Some people may think it's scary. The way I take it, you don't have to be scared by those statistics. You have to be inspired by those statistics because it really does expose those 94% of COVID deaths that also come with underlying cases. That really does expose the underbelly of our nation's health. I mean, I was recently consulting with a fabulous functional medicine doctor, and I'll get more into that later. But he talked back and forth with me about my health, and that's when I really realized that in order to be able to fix a lot of those underlying causes that the CDC says is partially responsible for 94% of those COVID deaths, we have to fix ourselves from the inside out. We have to adapt to a functional, healthy lifestyle that serves our needs, not focus on the side effects. We have to identify the root cause and repair ourselves naturally.
Totally. I totally agree with you, Alexander. And you have your own health business, correct?
Yes, it's called Long Live the Hemp, and it's essentially something that really helped my dad. 5 years ago, he was in a car accident. A lot of his issues have been badly reared in a car accident. His issues were chronic back and neck pain, insomnia, not being able to physically get out of bed, almost not being able, inflammation, and a lot of challenges with being able to function mentally going throughout the day.
Brain fog, mental fatigue, yeah. I'm sure.
Yes. At one point, so last January, he decided to try up to half a dozen different kind of CBD oil brands, some high in THC, the stuff that makes you psychoactive, some a bit lower, and none of them really gave him any consistent effect. One of them would make him go to sleep, and then he would wake up, oh, I feel so dopey. He didn't like it. He didn't like feeling high at all. And then a friend introduced him to this amazing high bioavailability formula that was being worked on for about 5 years and perfected. He got to try it, and after like 2 straight days in a row in dosage, he was finally able to get the first sound sleep he's ever had in years. And that's essentially the basis of what's now Long Live Hemp. It is high bioavailability, all natural, only the hemp extract, and only the hemp extract. And when you drop it under your tongue, it is absorbed very quickly. You feel the effect quickly. And in preclinical studies, has been found to be 20 times higher bioavailability or absorption rate than regular hemp oil within the first half an hour. Yes, it's been found to have, it's been tested for 0 THC. And from my experience and from my dad's experience and from the experiences of our customers, it doesn't make you feel high.
Yeah, and that's true with most hemp oils, unless you get them from a state that have a lot of THC. You get them from a dispensary. You don't get high. You don't actually feel high from them. But
exactly,
you might get tired and dopey, like you said, with some of them. It depends on what's mixed with them, and you don't know in a lot of them.
Exactly.
So
it also depends on the quality control, because some companies can claim to have quality control, and then the hemp crop can go hot, have a higher amount of THC than expected, and some people can fail the drug test. Our hemp, we maintain very stringent quality control to make sure it is well below what the FDA deems to be 0 THC. In fact, it's been tested to be 6 times lower.
6 times lower. Wow.
That's correct.
That's great. That's the one thing that people are really, my patients at least, are scared about. Like, they're scared about failing a drug test. And so most of the time, you're not going to, if you get quality hemp oil, you're not going to fail a drug test. So, Long Live Hemp is where to get it. What else are you working on? I know you're always working on different things because you have 3 different businesses going on. Tell me, I'm really interested actually in your best-selling books. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Before I get into my best-selling books, I would like to talk a little bit about my story. I've been a computer user ever since I was 2 years old. I would get a lot of my digital education from digital Dr. Seuss. I'd be bouncing up and down on Mommy Francine's lap. And from that point on, I was homeschooled. I got to spend a lot of time on a lot of stuff, doing whatever the heck my parents let me do.
Oh, wow.
And then when I was 13 years old, a very fateful day, my dad comes home from work and he says to my mom, "Francine, you don't look good. You look yellow." She says, "It's the sunset." "No, Francine, You do look yellow. We rushed mommy to the emergency room, and that's when we discovered that she was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, bile duct cancer. It was the beginning of the end, and before you knew it, she was gone. And it was just, I know, very sad to lose a mother at 13. So it was just me and my dad. We exchanged a lot of ideas on how to do things. We spent a few years developing our relationship. We've had our share of disagreements, and then all of a sudden it kind of occurred to me. It occurred to him, you know, Alexander, you've developed very good computer skills. Why don't you take those skills and use them to make some money? And out of that really came my first digital marketing agency, Triple Agent Digital Media. Now, how I got out of that has emerged the 2 best-selling books, but how I really got into the world of digital marketing is that it kind of came out of my homeschooling. When I was 11 years old, my parents let me start a YouTube channel. It was dedicated to, guess what interest it is? Vinyl records, smoking hot wax. The old way of listening to music and the better way of listening to music. My parents, I had all the spare time in the world. My parents introduced me to the hobby when I was 7 or 8. I've been hooked on it ever since. And when I was 11, I would just take those records, post them to YouTube, fill out the tags in the description with as many relevant things about the song, the artist, the album as possible, because I just want to communicate that stuff to people. And as a direct result of that, within a year, it got to many tens of thousands of views. And to this day, it's up to several million. Several million. Yes. And I have more than 6,500 subscribers. I have not been attending to it nearly as much as before my mom passed away, because a lot of my focus has really changed. But because I really set that groundwork up in the beginning, unknowingly, to make my videos popular, it still gets hundreds of residual views a day. And there was a peak, I think it was in March, there was a peak where the channel had thousands of views, peak in March during the pandemic.
That makes sense. Nobody had anything to do. So they were listening to or they're checking out your channel. That's great. That's great.
So I took that experience. I realized that what I was doing was marketing myself with no paid ads whatsoever. Just organic marketing. Some people would call it SEO, search engine optimization, and took that and adapted that into my first digital marketing business, which is called Triple Agent Digital Media. That's led to my first 2 best-selling books. The first one is about business hacks. Myself and a lot of other entrepreneurs and contributors talk about different ways to increase your sales daily. And the other one was about the first time that I ever had a speaking engagement at the Harbor Club of Boston way back in 2018. It kind of feels like yesterday. It was an event that massively supercharged my confidence in my communication, my ability to just present stuff to people. And, you know, that's what's really motivated me to do better. What I've done is I've adopted a very unique method called the ABCs of digital marketing: advertising, branding, and content marketing. That's kind of what the name Triple Agent Digital Media originates from. And since then, I've kind of expanded that with my other digital marketing business, which is Agency Intelligence. Agency
Intelligence. That one sounds interesting. That has to do with AI?
We like to use automation.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And one of the big keys to being an entrepreneur these days is to be able to lessen your workload and if there's something that you don't like doing and you don't feel like hiring someone and you feel it can be complete with automation, do it with automation. The big thing, though, is about agency intelligence. It's about doing digital marketing on a much bigger scale. You know, I would like to get a little bit philosophical here. Some people say that...
Be my guest. Be my guest.
Oh, economic priorities should not take precedence over health priorities. That's what some people are saying about this pandemic. You know what I really think? Economic priorities are just as important as health priorities because economic priorities beget health priorities. I mean, regardless of the kind of political system of the nation that you live in, I truly believe that everyone needs money to survive, and that includes medical priorities. How could a doctor treat someone if they can't pay for the equipment? How could a doctor survive if they can't pay? They have to pay for an office, they have to pay for the equipment, and in compensation for the work that they do, the expertise, the time they give to treating their patients and their clients. They have to get paid somehow. I mean,
yeah.
How can healthcare centers, whether
right
private, can survive without the economy? The more the money that gets, the greater the velocity is which money goes through the population, the more the doctors are able to give people quality health care, whether public or private, and the more the people can live in confidence that they can live in less fear when they go outside. And that is one of the things that I really think will help open up the economy a lot faster. That ties into something. One of the people I learned from, Marshall Silver, who calls himself the greatest hypnotist of all time, likes to say, "It's good for you, it's good for me, it's good for the economy, everyone wins." No, you know what makes everyone win? Just giving. Because the whole purpose, I believe, of entrepreneurship, and that's also something I kind of got from Dr. Oz, the whole purpose of entrepreneurship is to get paid to solve a problem for someone. Bring them from a place of pain to a place of pleasure. Sometimes money can even get funneled into the economy just by giving, for volunteering, for doing something for free. Small case in point, I have a client, not a big one, not a high-paying one by any means, who had a virus in his website, and his web host wouldn't help it clean it up. They used to help, so he asked, "I've got nobody to turn to. How can you help me, Alexander?" And I just went into his website, volunteered, cleaned up the virus to the best of my ability. And it was a job that took a couple hours. And when all was said and done, the next day, he texts me and he says, "Alexander, I love working with you." And without saying another word, he sends me a transfer of $100.
Wow.
For volunteer work. I was doing it for free, just took a couple hours out of my time because it was something that was interfering with stuff. The power of giving.
Yeah, you lessen the load. That's a great story. I bet you have a lot more stories just like that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So, are we ready to talk about the books yet, or do we want to talk about more automation?
I think we've talked enough about the books. It's basically a summary of what they are, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into what agency intelligence really does. The way that we automate your marketing is we hack marketing strategies. We hack the media. You know, having come from a place of great interest in the entertainment industry, that whole vinyl records venture with YouTube has gotten me to get in touch with people who have rubbed shoulders with Rick James and Eddie Murphy. Coming from a place of entertainment, I think marketing should be a hell of a lot of fun. You know what I found?
What have you found?
You know what I found. Fans in fictional characters, whether animated or live action, they are the greatest marketers. When a big media company such as Disney or Universal or Warner Media drops something into the news feeds, issues a press release, say something about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the fans are desperate to eat it up, and it's a conversation starter. It's a conversation starter. Now, a lot of the time, mega corporations pay big bucks to press release agencies such as PR Newswire with the hope and understanding that they are going to get published out in a place like CNN or MSNBC. More often than not, for big corporations, that happens because they're big enough to be newsworthy. They get picked up by the major media. The problem is, a lot of small businesses turn to these big media companies to try to get their stuff published. They turn to these big media companies to get their stuff published. And often not, they may not get the organic traffic that they expect from it. These people charge a lot of money, and oftentimes the small businesses, all they get is just distribution. And the power goes only to PR Newswire, not to the small business themselves. So you know what I've done?
What do you mean by PR Newswire?
Huh?
What do you mean by PR Newswire? Just the large,
PR Newswire is a
corporation?
PR Newswire is one of the companies that distributes press releases. Others are like Business Wire, 24/7 press releases, and a few others.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
So we've kind of reverse engineered that formula and figured out how to adapt it to small businesses, and out of that comes a search engine friendly press release. That is a core part of our strategy. That's a core part of our strategy. Big corporations build big buzz for their media properties. We do it, and we save the businesses tons of money. We save the businesses tons of money because a lot of these other companies, they charge extra for things like pictures, having a company logo, media assets. Why pay extra? These are integral to the marketing campaign. It's not just about getting extra clicks to your content. It's about what content you get extra clicks to. You have to make your online presence look really good, and that's just what these press releases accomplish for no extra cost. Pushing your media, pushing your videos, posting up to 5 videos per press release, posting up to 10 images per press release, spending hundreds of the signals that Google actually pays attention to, so that essentially it is more than just SEO. And through this method, I have never failed to get at least 10 to 15% organic traffic growth month over month for myself and my customers.
Wow.
It's a method that I've arrived at after many years of testing various methodologies, including some content optimization. I've belonged to some groups that do nothing but testing, and I've invested $300,000, more than $300,000 in nothing but marketing training alone.
Wow.
Over the past 5 years.
Wow. That's impressive too. So you've learned a lot from trial and error.
Hell yes.
Hell yes. So if I'm hearing it right, like if my small business was to come to you, I just bring you my pictures, my videos, and then you have come up with a way to automate a press release that actually gets noticed by Google and Facebook and all the big media, and I wouldn't say buyers, but like players.
The online media channels, primarily Google. That's essentially what we do. The clients hand us their media assets, and we help push them in a way that is highly scalable and has a very strong stacking effect. I mean, you can do one press release, but it's not enough to just do one press release and then wait.
Yeah.
You have to do one, and then the other, and then one, and then the other to really grow that authority. Generally, our clients do at least 1 to 2 a month. And that's what we found.
Okay.
That's for us.
Oh, I see. And so do your clients purchase those a la carte, or are they in packages? How does a client find you?
Some of our clients purchase press release individually. Others, we have packages that are custom tailored to fit the scale of what the business wants to do. And oftentimes that can include press releases. Some of my clients have found me organically. Others I reach out to. Some of them are referrals and great friends of mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure you've met a lot of people I know you met a lot of people just at the CNN conference, let alone like Carnegie Hall and the Harvard Club of Boston and NASDAQ and West Point Military Academy. Like, you must meet people all the time.
Fabulous. I really do. I have clients from all over North America, some of them in the essential services industry, some of them in medical niche. And you mentioning West Point again really brings me to one thing. The message that I shared there is, if your best kept secret, it's just about as good as being bankrupt. That's my philosophy that I came up with that really drives me forward and helps people to keep the economy going. Keep the economy going through marketing that has automation built into it, makes lives easier. And when people get those phone calls and when people pay the money to solve their problems, that velocity is what really helps us to be able to live life better. Totally.
If we're making more dollars, then we can put more money into the economy, which creates that velocity, which decreases fear, correct?
Yes. That is totally my philosophy.
I love it. And having fun at the same time.
Exactly.
So what are some different ways that, like, do you have fun with the clients, or do you just have fun with what you do? Like, what's a day in the life of Alexander Velitchko?
I'm a marketer by day and a baker by night. And this kind of gets back to my health experience. The reason I was homeschooled is that one day I was chumming up a whole box of Wheaties, and all of a sudden my stomach is bloated. Mm-hmm. And I was taken to the clinic, and you know what the doctor advised my parents? I
don't know.
Why don't you go have them tested for gluten allergies? Now, you see,
pretty straightforward.
I think it was about a few months earlier, my dad read an article in the Central newspaper about a woman named Elaine Gottschall and how she was treating, I think it was her daughter, with the specific carbohydrate diet, which is much stricter than gluten-free, and it really helped change her life. Someone had told her daughter that, hey, you might never be able to eat again. You would have to consume food through a tube for the rest of your life. And putting her on that diet really proved the doctor wrong. It did save her life. She was able to get back to normal. So when my dad was told that I would have to be checked for gluten allergies, a light bulb went off on his head. One of the other things that was happening at that time was, as a child, I could not go a day without up to like half a dozen different sources of media at once. The computer, the TV, the PlayStation 2, the radio, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
If even one of those devices was turned off, I would go freaking mad. I would go freaking nuts. I would go berserk, have a tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
My parents put me on the specific carbohydrate diet, and cold turkey, no wheat of any kind, no high-starch products such as potatoes, no gluten, and that was really my first exposure to healthy eating. And a couple weeks later, my behavior dramatically improved. My parents took away each of the media sources one by one, and I was able to survive listening to one thing at a time. It's been a lifestyle that I have adapted to, and that same functional medicine doctor who helped me make many revelations about myself, you know what he told me?
What?
Your parents made a very smart decision putting him on the diet that early.
And so what was it like for you, like in your head, like when you transitioned from like having to have 6 different types of input coming into your brain at one time to just one? Did things slow down? Did you notice more things? What did you realize? What
I realized, I was a kid that was very easily excited, liked to run around and do things. It was interesting when the anxiety of not having at least one of the sources off to go away. It was interesting when that anxiety went away, because I was able to appreciate, when I would listen to something, I would appreciate it more fully. And that doctor told me, I don't know if you would even be around today if your parents hadn't put you on the diet, which is very true.
Wow.
Day to day, I find myself very, very grateful that decision so long ago, it helped me to really focus on one source of media at a time, because how would you be able to appreciate it? How would I be able to appreciate it? And a large part of this diet has been replacing wheat with almond flour. Wheat with almond flour, yes. And that's why I call myself a marketer by day, a baker by night. My mom was baking lots of things for me. My mom and dad were making a lot of specific carbohydrate diet friendly food, some of that including muffins, which I like to call muffkies. And eventually, that recipe, which contains some dairy products, evolved into an almond flour cake. Yes, almond flour, eggs, honey, baking soda, raisins, some seeds and nuts, salt and pepper, other seasonings as needed, and it is the most delicious baked good that any kid can dream of. It's a recipe that I've taken cooking skills from my mom, and I've used them to develop this recipe with input from my dad and constant, never-ending experimentation and some variations. I've been doing it since 2016. I've been doing it for about 4 to 5 years. And if anyone is interested in the recipe, you can find it at vulner-able.com. That's my health blog, vulner-able.com. Vulnerable, yes, like with a dash in between the R and the A. There, you're going to find my cake recipe.
You heard it there, folks. Find the cake recipe, and you might just change your life.
Go get it.
Get off the gluten. Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else on your blog that you like to talk about, or is there anything else that you like to bake?
Sometimes I like to cook omelets for myself, and I also like to make salads. Those are a bit all over the place. If I can dive a little bit deeper into how I make my food on the blog. Other aspects of the blog are focused on health experiences, such as including my dad's experience with the hemp and other kind of journals about his pain, what he's experienced since his car accident, and the hemp has gotten him on.
He had a car accident.
I think it was like a total of 6 prescription medications, 4 of them for pain.
Oh wow! And he got off all of them.
Yeah, that's how good he's felt because of it.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you think that he has some of the gluten allergy or sensitivities that you may have? Could it be causing some of the pain? Has he adopted your diet also?
He's adopted my diet as well, even though he doesn't have nearly as much gluten sensitivity as I do, because it's just a healthy way of living.
Totally agreed. As being a natural doctor myself, I totally agree. The gluten that we eat is not natural at all and not good for us in this country. So I totally agree with you, Alexander.
Exactly. And that just brings me back to the point that in order to reduce those 94% of COVID deaths, we have to fix ourselves from the inside out. It all starts from our lifestyle decisions.
Totally. So let's recap a little bit here. So award-winning speaker, best-selling author, hemp connoisseur, baker, triple agent, the ABCs, which are, what were the ABCs?
Advertising, organic, branding, and online reputation management, because you need to look just as good online as you do offline. And content is the king. Content marketing is the queen.
Totally. And you do that through automation,
with the help of automation.
With the help of automation.
With the help of automation, a lot of our clients have WordPress sites, and we install a plugin that really facilitates the publishing of the content on their website, because with what we do that nobody else does, sourcing, yes, it makes you into kind of like your own mini PR newswire, your own disseminator of news.
Really?
Big corporations drop stuff into people's Google news feeds. What we do is we help small businesses to drop information straight into where people are searching for them in as many places as possible. And we do that through a smart distribution of content in as many channels on Google as possible. We expand what I would call the online footprint, both horizontally and vertically.
Oh, wow. So you're a Google connoisseur also.
Yes, I've been a Google connoisseur since I was a toddler, essentially. I've seen all the changes that they've made. That passion has come out of computer education. And another key to winning the economy is monetizing your passion, because if you don't settle on something where you have a skill, what good is the business if you're doing it if you're just doing it for if you're just pursuing the money? You get the money.
It's a job, it's not a passion.
Yeah. You get the money. You get paid what you deserve to be paid by harnessing your skills and figuring out how to help people. Heck, if it's even just a freaking silly print-on-demand shirt shop on Redbubble or the likes, you're making people just feel a little bit better, because what you're doing when you're selling apparel to them is helping them to show the world what they really need. And marketing is no different.
Totally. I love it. So where can we find agency intelligence? How can we get in touch with that part of your menu of businesses and blogs and automation? How can the viewers get a hold of you or get a hold of your company? Hey,
listen, listeners. I am running specials for both agency intelligence and Along with the Hemp, and those are the offers I would like to make to you today. On agency intelligence, those press releases giving you boosting your website, boosting your visibility, and boosting your audience by hitting you with hundreds of the signals that Google actually cares about. We are running at a lowest ever price. $115 per press release. All you have to do is provide us the content. And if you want to claim this offer, you can contact me at meetalex@agencyintelligence.co. That is meet, as in meet me, Alex, as in Alexander, at Agency Intelligence, AGENCYINTELLENCE.co. Meet Alex at agencyintelligence.co. And if that special is good for the rest of the week for another 4 to 5 days, and if you want to try the same thing that helped my dad, long live the hemp, that has helped myself with a lot of my energy and my ability to focus, we are running that at a more than 0.5%. We are running that at more than half off, lowest price ever as well. That special is also good for the rest of the week. I mean, if you go into my blog, Vulnerable, you can find that coupon. You can find a coupon that gives you 5% off. But for Dr. Dan listeners only, we are giving a coupon that's 10% off. So
10%.
Yes. Double.
All right.
So if you want to claim that, you can shoot me. You can shoot an email to that same email address, meetalex@agencyintelligence.co. And Dr. Dan, you're going to publish that email for your listeners, right?
Yep, it's going to be in our show notes, it's going to be on our blog, and it's going to be on our website and on our social media pages.
Awesome.
Totally. And I want to ask you one more question. What's the greatest thing that you've ever learned, Alexander, so far?
2 things. Monetize your passion. And where technology prevails, where technology fails, common sense prevails. I mean, you can be automation and electronic tools really do help, but if you rely completely on them to do all of your business, because I do a lot of testing. I have ranked a page, and I think it was 8 weeks, with a continuous repeating paragraph for a keyword in a city that's like 250,000 population. And I relied on some tools to do that are based completely on science. But if I relied only on what the tool gave me and not my common sense, I don't think I would have gotten there so quickly. So the key is when you're using software, online tools to help you out, you still have to have that human element in what you're doing, and you really have to carry that human element all into your business, right?
Totally agree.
Our great mentor, Clint Arthur, he says, who you are is more important than what you actually do. And a huge part of that is really bringing the human element into your business.
Totally.
Giving customers a face that they can see, because otherwise they're dealing with a nameless, faceless corporation.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what's ruining our country right now. It's the small business that needs the help, that needs people like you and people like me to supply answers and help them prosper in times of crisis like this. So I totally agree with you, Alexander.
You nailed it.
Anything else? Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we end our episode this evening?
There are many thoughts that I could think from. There are many thoughts that I could pick from. But my final thought is this. One thing that I can never stop thinking about, Joe Biden saying every day, and this is not a political statement, someone asked him what he thought about women's violence. He said, we got to keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. And there's a right way of punching at it and the wrong way of punching at it. Punching at it hard and not really getting anything out of it without knowing what you're doing, or just punching at it in one big blow understanding all the variables, calculating that blow, and knowing that you're going to get a high success out of it. That's a business analogy. Keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it.
Well, thank you very much, Alexander.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr.
And
Dan.
folks, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for being on the show, and thank you for sharing your story and sharing about health and business and how to help the economy and your life philosophy. I'm very grateful to have you on the show. And Alexander Velitchko, everybody. Thank you so much. So you heard it here. You can get 10% off all your automation products, correct?
10% off Long Live the Hemp products. And
10% off Long Live the Hemp products.
And press releases with automation strategy. We are running those for only $115 per press release.
$115.
Only condition, you give us the content, and we tweak it a little to best practices. And just get it back to you and publish it.
Great. We'll get that all out to our listeners. And thank you so much, Alexander. And it was great having you on the show tonight.
Awesome, Dr. Dan. It's been so nice chatting with you.
Yes, it's been nice chatting with you and nice catching up with you since the show that you haven't left yet. I
haven't left it in everyone's mind. It was in everyone's minds because it was fantastic.
It was a great time. Thank you, Clint Arthur, for that also. One of our great mentor.
We couldn't have done it without you.
That is true. We're fighting a good fight. All right. Thanks, Alexander.
Thank you, Dr. Dan.